We are now joined by the new Kansas City men's head coach, Billy Donlon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Great to be here.
We're happy to have you. Congratulations on the new gig.
Yeah, thank you.
Kind of emotions going forth into your first year.
I think like any coach, it doesn't matter first year or fifth year. Right now, you're 2 weeks into practice and you don't think you're going to win a game. So that's most of us. And that's probably where I am right now. But we've got great guys. They work hard. Kansas City's an incredible place to live, and we're excited. The WAC is definitely beginning its peak as a conference in terms of men's basketball when you look at the numbers and the rankings where they come out. So we're coming in at a very, very competitive time.
You have 10 newcomers, but everyone is buying into a new system now. How do you get guys to buy into that system?
Well, you got to teach them the value of hard work first, and you got to teach them how to compete. And so that the competitive level is a lot more important than the schematic part of it right now. It's hard to do over an everyday grind when you don't get to play anybody else. Experience is the great teacher. And so I can't wait to get to our first close scrimmage. We need to get to some of that to continue to teach our guys about having proper competitive spirit.
And do you feel like so far from what you've seen, they have kind of bought into the system?
Yeah, we certainly know the 5 guys that have come back, to be fair. I think guys take over jobs and they throw previous coaching staffs under the bus. We have 5 good players back from the previous staff. They're solid guys, and I think our staff has done a good job of trying to build it from there. I think we have some guys that are proven scorers in our league, and now we got to make them proven defenders. So, we're doing a good job. Our kids are working; they're trying, and we need to become a player-led program as opposed to a coaching-led program, and that's everybody. I think we're all trying to do that as coaches, and every year you have to get to that because every team every year is a new year.
You got a big game against Kansas, and it'll be played in Kansas City. What strengths have you seen so far from your guys that will hopefully give you a leg up in that game?
Well, that day, just in general, is a great day for Kansas City basketball. Our women's team is playing Kansas State at Municipal downtown, and then our fans can go right from that game and walk 3 blocks to Sprint Center and see us play the Jayhawks. So I don't know if I've seen anything yet that gives me confidence of taking on the Jayhawks, but we'll give it the old college try and see what happens.
I will actually toss it now to the media.
Coach Kyle McDonald with WAC Hoops Digest. What was the key in re-recruiting those guys that came back? Because a lot of them entered the transfer portal. What was the sell that you brought them back to come back to UMKC?
Yeah, I appreciate your question. I think the first thing I want to say is, and again, I've gotten a little sensitive to modern opine and journalism, and I say it. Everybody talks about it. 10 kids put themselves in the transfer portal. And I just hope it gets reported that those 10 kids put themselves in the transfer portal the minute after they let go Kareem. Because sometimes it gets reported and it can be read that 10 kids put themselves in the transfer portal once I got the job. And I think we can understand the difference and why that's an important thing to always, when we write about that, we put that in my humble opinion. I don't get to tell you, a lot of people that write tell me how to do my job. I unfortunately don't get to tell you how to do yours. And I've always said this when I was the head coach in the Horizon League. It's a good thing that guys that have to make predictions, their livelihoods don't depend on their ability to make predictions in the league. There were 3 times in my 6 years as a head coach that the team that finished last finished second. But to answer your questions, the key was on them. I was very honest. When you have your first meeting and you've got 10 guys in the portal, you can't come in there as you have 2 things you can do as a head coach. You can come in there and say, fellas, it's this way or the highway, and I need to know right now, and basically all 10 of them would have left. Or you can do what I did, and I don't know if it'll be right or wrong, but what I chose to do is in the first meeting lasted 10 minutes. And I said, fellas, I know you had great love and care for your coach. And I think just for coaching in general, we as coaches, and rightfully so, we get measured based on winning and losing. But for 10 guys to put themselves in the transfer portal, that shows they really love their coach. And, in the game of life, that should mean an awful lot to that coaching staff. And for me, seeing that, I was going to tell them, hey, you're not going to be able to play for the previous coach. If you transfer, you're going to play for a new coach. Or if you stay, you're going to play for a new coach. The advantage here is you're going to get 2 weeks. If you go play for another coach, you're going to get a 48-hour visit to get to know that program. If you stay here, let's give this a 2-week tryout. And I'm going to be exactly who I'm going to be. I'm not going to be somebody I'm not for 2 weeks to convince you to stay. And, you know, five guys decided to stay. Some guys left. Some guys left because they wanted to, and some guys I didn't feel like were the right fit either. And so there was a little bit of a balance of that. But it was very honest dialogue. And I think with today's kid, more so than ever, you've got to be incredibly transparent with them. And it's easy to be transparent through the positive, but you got to be transparent with the stuff that is hard, because it is hard. Winning is hard. It's really hard.
There's some new faces on the Roos this season, along with those holdovers that we were just talking about. Do you have any idea what your starting lineup's going to look like?
I don't. I got asked that, and I'm not trying to be that secretive guy. You know, my teams historically have played anywhere from 8 to 10 guys. I do think we have that kind of a team. Certainly when you look at, on paper, Brandon McKissick, Rob Whitfield, who scored, Jordan Giles, who 2 years ago really scored. And then we added 2 pretty good grad transfers. Javen White at Oral Roberts averaged a double-double, basically. I think it was like 9.8 rebounds per game. But and then he went to Clemson, and it just they had a terrific season. He played for one of the best coaches in the country in Brad Brunell, and he decided he wanted to get back closer to home. And I think he's got a chance to be a very good player in our league. And then Jashir Hardnett from BYU, 2 years ago, he averaged double figures in a really, really good league. Let's be honest. I mean, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, BYU, really, really good league. He averaged double figures 2 years ago. So I think those are guys people would expect to start, but I don't know that for sure, because they're certainly going to have to go out and prove it and earn it.
Coach, you came to Kansas City from a pair of Power 5 programs that had success in the NCAA tournament. What attracted you to this job at Kansas City?
You know, I've said this, I think we're all wired. I think people, athletes, competitors are wired kind of 2 different ways. And one way is like you just want to go join the blue blood, go be a player or a coach at a program that has always won. And then I think you're wired the other way, where you want to knock the bully off the block. And my entire career as a player, I was recruited by Richmond. I was recruited by Boston College. Right after I committed to UNC Wilmington, Dick Bennett had just become the head coach at Wisconsin and offered me a scholarship. And for me, I went to Wilmington to play for Coach Wainwright and Coach Brunell, because Wilmington had never won a championship in any sport, ever, in any sport. And now if you do that since 1995, all the championships they've won in sports, to be a part of that, for me, that was a lot more meaningful than going to a place that has had historical significance. And we did the same thing at Wright State. Wright State had gone to one NCAA tournament in 19 years as a Division I program. They'd finished 3rd or better 3 times as a Division I program. My 10 years there, we did that 7 or 8 of my 10 years. And at Kansas City, they've had 6 winning seasons as a part of a conference in 30 years. And that's not me. It's hard to win. And I don't know if, we're going to do everything we can to win. Winning is hard. That's not me saying anything negative, but that is what attracted me to it, is that I think it's a place that can win. It's a great location. It's very fertile recruiting ground. The business school is one of the best in the country. The School of Engineering, which we have 2 kids majoring in engineering, is one of the best in the country. Our athletic director gets it, Dr. Martin. And all those things drew me to it. But what really drew me to it is going somewhere and being a part of something that's never been done. And that's really hard to do. It's a little easier if you take over a program that's always been doing it. It's a little harder to take over a program that's never done it. And I really enjoy that challenge.
You have non-conference games against Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Kansas. Was this something you inherited, or did you purposely schedule this way?
The only game we scheduled this year, other than the non-Division I through the MTE, the two non-Division I's through the tournament, was Kansas. So I think every other game we inherited, including I think we played 19 of our 31 regular seasons away from home, whether it's the Bahamas, and it's really hard to win college road games. So we'll be very, very tested that way. And that's what we inherited, and that's what we got to go face. But it's exciting to play those 3 schools, and they're all Big 12 schools within our region. Our fans should be excited about it, and they're 3 programs that I think are all going to be right there in the NCAA tournament. So it's great for our guys. It's great for recruiting. We're excited about that opportunity.
Brandon McKissick was just named to the NCAA Men's Basketball Competition Committee. What does that mean for your program?
I think it says a lot about Brandon McKissick. That the administration and the people that he's been in touch with feel confident in his ability to give meaningful impact to that committee. And it's exciting for Brandon, who that really if you know Brandon at all, that really matters to him. You know, he's a SAC representative on our campus. He does a lot, and it's meaningful to him, and it's powerful for us because it's not often that you get an athlete to be on such a significant committee from a non-Power 5 or Power 6 conference. It's a really meaningful thing, and for Brandon to have, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, won that opportunity is it shows a lot about him.
Let's talk about your roster real quick. Unlike a CSU Bakersfield or Utah Valley that lost the majority of their scoring, you returned 53% of the scoring from last year. How does that help your team build chemistry around the guys that have been there, that know how to put the ball in the hoop, that know how to play the game the right way as you bring in all these newcomers?
Well, I think, this one will probably get me in trouble, but I'm a straight shooter. Every bad team has guys that score. You don't get shut out in basketball. So the fact that we bring back X amount of points, the bottom line is we didn't fare well. And since there's no analytics on how much percentage of the defense is coming back that gave up all the points that it gave up and was one of the worst defenses in the country. And I'm not taking a shot at any of the previous coaches, but to be fair, I think you got to use stat. One of the things that always bothered me as a player, I won a lot of games as a player, was never voted all conference. And the guys, I hated it when the media voted somebody that finished 7th, 8th, or 9th all conference. Hated it. Because how did they impact winning? I think the number one standard to being an all conference player should be, did you impact winning? It's my opinion. And, that's the message we're trying to get across to our guys. Impact winning. I don't care about your numbers, what you shoot from the floor, impact winning. And to be fair, we have returning players that can impact winning. They can, and that's our goal as coaches, is to get them better at that.
All righty, Coach. Well, I love the passion that you have brought, and I look forward to seeing all the work you guys put in this season. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll just put that right there. Yeah. And for all of you that have tuned in on Facebook Live and the WAC Digital Network, we thank